Good morning from California, and welcome to Race Industry Now, the weekly webinar series from EPARTRADE, presented to you by ARP, Performance Plus Global Logistics, PIC, Fifth Third Bank, and Shop Monkey. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of EPARTRADE, the global platform for the performance and racing industry. This is the first episode of the 2023 season of Race Industry Now and the 327 episode of the series. Today, we're going to be talking suspension with Penske Racing Shocks. And with me this morning are Judy Kin, the co-founder of EPARTRADE, and our superstar host, Mr. Jeff Hammond. Judy?
Well, thank you, Francisque. And everybody, thank you for joining us today. We're excited to start this series. And as Francisque said, we have three strong brands that have joined us this year. Old World Industries that we all know as Peak Performance, Shop Monkey, and also Fifth Third Bank, who is just covers everything racing. So we're proud to have all 5 sponsors on board this year. So we're happy about that. On to you, Jeff.
Well, good morning to both of you. And man, it's what a unbelievable feeling it is right now. Great looking background, all these sponsors coming on. We just keep picking it up and putting it down as fast as we can here at EPARTRADE, ready for another season. And, racing has already started. So a lot of energy in the industry right at the moment. So like I say, just excited about it, excited about who we have on today. The folks from Penske Racing and Racing Shocks. I mean, it's a great way to kick off 2023.
Absolutely. So without any further introduction, we're going to share with you a little video from Penske Racing Shocks. And while that video is running, we are going to bring our 4 special guests today. So let's get the video on.
I don't think a lot of fans, race fans in general, really understand what it takes to go endurance racing. The Daytona 24-hour race is coming down to 3-4 cars on the lead lap, which is just astonishing that you can run for 24 hours straight with some of the best drivers in the world, and they're pushing the pace every lap for 24 hours straight, and you end up with 4 or 5 cars seconds apart. It really drives us to produce the highest quality pieces we can, because they're running for 24 hours straight. It's a very grueling race. When we can go to a place like Daytona, for instance, that has long straightaways, high banking, where obviously motor is a big thing on those straightaways, we love seeing when our cars get to the infield and they can be 1 second to 2 seconds quicker through the infield portion, where handling matters. You can really see, those cars are a lot better handling. We've been lucky enough to be on the last, I want to say 5 or 6 overall victories at the Daytona 24-hour, which is kind of the crown jewel there. When you look at endurance racing, it's that and Le Mans. But yeah, we've been lucky enough to be with the top teams, and we've learned a lot from them. Again, they ask a lot. It's a very competitive market for us. So we're always striving to develop the next best thing, and it doesn't stop, that's for sure.
Good morning, gentlemen. So we're going to leave you in the hands of the wonderful Jeff Hammond. So you guys are on for the next 45 minutes.
Thank you, Francis. And good morning, gentlemen. Hope everybody is doing well this morning. And I am extremely interested in, what you've got to share with us today. I think it was a great opening video. I think that you picked the right place to try to highlight and show that you guys are getting it done. You're making everybody happy around the racetrack, and that's always a challenge, I can promise you, from my experiences in the past. And the cool thing about it is modern technology. I just watching some of the video there, and the ability to blow that shock up and do a cutaway and look at it in so many different ways. I mean, it's not the same that I was used to, and I can't wait to hear what you got to share with us today.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be on board. This is a great platform for us to hopefully
getting communication with a few customers that don't really get to see us, whether that be at a trade show or in person. So this platform is great. We really enjoy doing it. Start of this year was really good. Based off the video there, that was last year, but this year in 2023, we've been lucky enough to work with a few of the key chassis suppliers with the new LMDH sports car platform. And we were lucky enough to be on the top 6 finishing cars at Daytona this year. It was a pretty grueling process. I'd say the last 12 months, just working with all the manufacturers, all the chassis manufacturers, engine suppliers, just getting everything right. Everybody was thrashing for the last 12 months, really testing the cars on track, just hoping everything would last 24 hours. And then to put on a great show like they did there at Daytona just a month or so ago, it was really outstanding. We really enjoyed it, and there's a lot more to come. We were just down last week testing at Sebring. You got the 12 hours of Sebring coming up. And then obviously really big for a lot of the teams this year, they're going to get to go over to Le Mans and test it out over there as well. So we're really excited for it.
Well, guys, the thing is, I'm turning this over to you because you know what you want to tell me, and everybody else is sitting out there with the pen and paper. And I want you to take full advantage of what you have here with your platform and share what I know is going to be an unbelievable presentation.
Thanks for that. I'm going to introduce a few of my coworkers here. Jim Arns, he's our technical director and heads up our Formula One side of the business, as well as he was heavily involved with our sports car program as well. We have Dustin Zur, who heads up our motorcycle drag racing division. And he was also trackside at Daytona this year for the Rolex 24. And John Quinn, he's our North Carolina manager. We have a facility down there in Cornelius. John heads up our plant down there, and he's going to touch base on some specific things really related to our pull down rig and some of the testing that we do down there. We use it for stock cars, for modifieds, for late models, both asphalt and dirt. So we got a little bit of everything here that hopefully all the viewers can take a little bit out of all of this. But it's really going to touch on our S3 platform that we've been promoting here the last year or so, that really introduces the customer to what we believe is the main difference between us and some of our competitors that are out there. Sort of the inception of what the customer is looking for, what do they want their vehicle to do. And this can be all the way from Formula One to highest end sports cars, all the way down to your Saturday night dirt modified racer, or even our ATVs. We do a lot of motorcycles and ATVs. And really I think the important thing here is anybody that's out there competing on a weekend, whether it's on an ATV all the way up to a Formula One car, they're expecting the best out of their products, and they want to work with a group that can help them tune and adjust for what they need. So we're going to cover a few things that hopefully helps them do that and gets the most out of their handling package. So Jim, I'll throw it over to you. Obviously this weekend, I know Formula One's kicking off this weekend. So it's a big event, and it's been a crazy market for us here the last 12, 18 months. So I'll throw it over to Jim, and he can discuss a little bit of what we've done on the Formula One side.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks everyone at EPARTRADE for having us. As Aaron mentioned, I kind of oversee the F1 type work we're doing, and as Aaron mentioned too, the S3 part of our company kind of goes from Formula One across the whole business, and it's that support part of it is key. I think sets us apart. Everybody makes really nice shocks, but I think the difference with Penske is that the support you get by teaming with this company is second to none. And again, that our results kind of show that we're supplying about half the grid right now in this weekend in Formula One. And just to discuss a little bit about that, it's an interesting market. We generally have very customized dampers, maybe as opposed to some of the other markets we're in, where it's more of a spec type damper or a family of products. For the Formula One guys, it's all custom to their specifications. So, for instance, this weekend we have shocks that are completely non-adjustable to 4-way adjustable shocks running around. It just depends on what the team is after. So one of the big things you've heard if you watch the Netflix series and all that, the porpoising was a big issue last year. That was a challenge for all shock manufacturers. In the end of the day, it was an aerodynamic type thing. So shocks can only do so much. And that we were scratching our heads to try to do that. But at the end of the day, some of the changes they made with the current regulations have addressed that. Now the cars are more doing what they're supposed to do, and the shocks can do their job. One of the other things that we've been dealing with in general in the market, and I'm sure you've heard about it, is the cost caps that come into play. So a lot of our products are very customized. So we've had to work within budgets for the teams and provide really creative solutions for them. And that's always a challenge. Costs are always important, but in Formula One, where they had an unlimited bank account for many, many years, and now they're trying to shrink that down and apply the resources across it. It's a bit of a challenge. And part of what you saw in that opening video is helping us get there with our in-house manufacturing this year. So we've made a commitment to that, where we are making our own parts in-house now for our Formula One customers, where in the past we've been outsourcing that sort of stuff. So again, more of a support, more of that on the S3, the support part, supporting the customers with their custom products and maintaining deliveries is super important with all the supply chain issues that happened in the past. But also supporting them with their cost goals is super important for us. So again, for us bringing this capability in-house here in Reading, Pennsylvania, with our large array of CNC machines, it's helped us close that gap quite a bit and respond quicker and deliver a higher quality part. If you're talking about just regular damper stuff, one thing we've noticed this year is the damper loads and what's required for the dampers are continue to go up. It depends on the design of the car and their motion ratios. But we're always pressed to make the smallest possible shock and create the damper force signature damper curve that they want. And that's always a compromise, trying to keep the damper big enough so it performs properly and the pressures aren't go crazy and there's a lot of hysteresis. And then also keep it small enough so they can keep within their mass goals, which is huge for Formula One. Most of the cars are way overweight this coming into this season. So we're talking taking grams off is super important. So we're looking at all things, whether it comes down to innovative design or looking at the stress analysis to really optimize the part. We're trying to keep that mass really, really low and still do what it's supposed to do for those teams. So I'd say mainly those 4 topics are pretty, we're pretty central to our effort this year: the porpoising, cost cap, the higher loads, and then different types of adjustment to support those customers. So we're expecting some good results this weekend. We have very close relationships with our partners in Formula One. They push us constantly to develop new things which kind of transcend the whole product line, and things that we develop in Formula One will make their way to other markets, and then vice versa. So it's a unique situation, and we're happy to be a part of that market.
Yeah, so that there's it's really important, I think, for us to portray that to all of our customers. When we get to the next portion here, it's interesting to see we're a pretty small group up here in Reading, Pennsylvania, and also the office there in North Carolina. We have just around 50 employees. As Jim stated, we've upped our manufacturing capabilities in-house now. We manufacture, I'd say, over 75% of our parts in-house now, which is great. We have around 20 CNC machines, 5-axis capabilities. So we've really taken everything on in-house, which is important for us, but also I think important for any of our racers to know all the pieces that we manufacture from F1 all the way down. They all come out of one facility. all the same people are working on them. We don't have a special group working on one side of the business and others on the other side. We all sort of cross pollinate, and that's what really helps us, I think, stay in front and stay on that cutting edge. With that, I'm going to throw it over to John Quinn. Introduction to John Quinn. He's our North Carolina manager. I know, Jeff, you and John have known each other for a while through the NASCAR world. John's been around for a while down there. He's worked on quite a few different teams, and we've been lucky enough to have him here for the last handful of years. John will kick it off here with a little video and then touch base on some of the new things we're doing down in North Carolina.
What we have is we've developed a scenario to dynamically test dirt car chassis. What we've done is we've modified Miller Brothers pull-down rig that was designed for NASCAR, and we've implemented some of our own test procedures, our own fixtures, and had Miller Brothers design us some pages so that we can look at data on the dirt cars as they actually travel in an opposite direction of anything else you'd ever see on an asphalt track, you know. And what it allows us to do is it allows the teams to look at all the kinematics of their race cars and see that things are not binding, things are traveling the way they're supposed to. Basically, the components are working the way they think they are.
The pull-down rig itself, it's a tool that not a lot of people have access to. We're lucky enough to have gotten one, and we're trying to use that for all of our customers just to get the cars better. Not only from a speed standpoint, but also a consistent standpoint. A lot of these guys are racing multiple racetracks throughout the season, throughout the country. Some of these guys are seeing 30, 40 different racetracks, so it's really hard to unload and be very close. So it's all about building a notebook, capturing data, understanding what it's doing, and really just knowing what your changes are going to do.
You have an opportunity to get underneath your race car and actually grab hold of the components as they're under load. You don't have that opportunity to do that anywhere else except for what we have doing here right now. It's track testing without being at the track, right? We don't have the changing track conditions that we fight with the dirt world, right? So over the course of just a night, the track condition changes so much, the speed drops, the loads change in the race car, and you have all these variables that are really a moving target. With what we have here is we have a controlled environment. So we can test all the things that guys typically do making changes at the racetrack in a controlled environment where we take the variable of the tires and the changing racetrack out of the equation. So what it does is it better lets them understand what they're going to get into and to what magnitude each change is going to do without having to guess, you know, is the track going to change on them or not? And that's the most valuable part of it, is we have a controlled environment to not go through tires, not go through fuel, not go through any of that stuff, don't have to travel to the track and whatnot. We can get in the room here and we can put the car through its paces at posture, look at loads, and understand what each change is going to do without even having to go on a racetrack.
Now that's what I'm talking about right there. That's bad as the bone. And I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick here, John. May I come by and look at that someday?
Absolutely. Good to be here, you guys. Good to see everybody, Jeff and EPARTRADE, everybody. I encourage you to come by and check this out, because I know that over your years you've been exposed to Miller Brothers pull-down rig in the NASCAR world. You know what they're all about. I would really like you to stop by and see what we got going on here, because our ability to put a dirt car up there and put it at posture and look at all the vehicle loads is really pretty interesting. And guys are getting a lot of help out of it. We're getting a lot of good data out of our stuff here right now.
I can only imagine, because again, I think all of us will agree. I mean, I was bragging about your cutaways and the ability to be able to see something, you know, in an exposed world to where you can better understand what does it look like, and, you know, all the things you do to be able to visually see it. You know what I'm saying? And the old adage it rings true every time. A picture's worth 1,000 words, whether it's attitude around the racetrack with a race car in a Cup Series, or it's on a dirt track, or even, you know, I can't wait to hear what Dustin's got to say about the motorcycle world, because we all know that them some guns, they fly them through the air with the greatest of ease, and they land them like they're on a cushion, you know. So you got to have, you know, everything working together there also. So to me, it just tells you guys, you're not standing still. I can understand why Formula One, why you're going to Le Mans, why you win it 24 hours at Daytona. And again, cutting edge, it's giving us what we really need, a better understanding, not thinking or guessing, but factual knowledge. And I think that's the benefit that I'm hearing here already is you got facts. You don't have guesses. This is a fact.
That's 100% right. And the guys that come through here to get on the rig, they can see that firsthand. We had a team in here yesterday, as a matter of fact, a super late model team, a dirt car that the driver was actually able to put the information that we provided that comes out of the rig to what he feels in the seat of the car, right? So as they made a change on the rig, I would ask him, says, what will that do to the car for you when you're making that change at the racetrack? And he said, well, to make it do this or make it do that. They can look at actual wheel loads. They can look at where all the loads transfer in the car, how the posture changes, how the rear steer changes, whatever the case may be, and immediately equate what they feel, right? So that gives them some more opportunity to start looking outside the box a little bit at the other corners of the car. It enhances their notebook. It backs everything up and gives them other places to look for that edge that everybody's looking for. And again, we can do it in a controlled environment. So it's really pretty valuable.
Yeah. Like I say, I can't wait to see it. And I'm just excited for all of your customers and your competitors for what you guys are. Like I say, you're helping them out like I've never seen before. I really mean that. I mean, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I know John, I echo what John has to say. I know, obviously, Jeff, with your background in NASCAR, this is what all the teams do. This is just everyday routine. This is what NASCAR teams do. And this is how they're all so close and they compete at the highest level. So when John and I, and together we looked at it and said, hey, we think this would be a great program for our late model customers, for our modified customers, both asphalt and dirt, because a lot of these racers, they have 9-to-5 jobs and they're working on their cars at night and they're trying to drive to the racetrack. They don't have crew chiefs. They don't have engineers helping them out. It's they're showing up to the racetrack and trying to learn as they go. So this, we figured, was a great service to, as you put it, show them data, show them facts of this is what you're feeling, this is what it's doing. And it just helps them build that notebook quicker, just like the professionals teams do. And I think that's what it takes. And I think all racing industry, all racing markets are just evolving so fast now because you're getting more of this data collected. You're getting more manufacturers that are helping these racers do that. And it's just upping the competition level every week we go. I know the late model side of the market is just so competitive now. You're showing up to some of these big racetracks and you're getting 60, 70 cars, and your top cars are within under a second of each other. And it's just so competitive. So you really got to stay on top of everything and just keep understanding what your car wants, but ultimately what that driver wants to feel to make them go faster. So
can I ask you guys a question here about, you made mention about aero platforms and how shocks are affecting that. We've all known that. We've seen shocks hold springs down at places like Talladega back in the mid 80s to make the car run faster. Here we go. How sensitive can you get here with y'all's product? Because again, we're talking about a quarter pound of air in a tire. And the dampening effect or how the shock reacts to that, it's a package deal, I understand. But with what you're able to learn in y'all's environment now, how close are we talking about getting these shocks honed in to benefit aero, but yet control spring? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. The answer to the question is you you can constantly refine the damper to work with the suspension, right? The first job of the damper is obviously to control the stored energy of the suspension and thus hold the platform of the car, whether it's dirt racing or cup racing or whatever the case may be. Heck, we had last month we had a Bonneville land speed car in our pull-down rig, right? So again, we're just looking at aero platform, right? Where does the car work and what window are we working in? Tuning the shocks to what the platform of the car needs and desires on the racetrack is every bit as important as it always was. Back in the day when we had big springs and big rebound, we're running around Talladega and Daytona just holding them down. We're doing the same things, just in a different box now, right? The springs are softer, there's bump stops involved, and we're tuning the dampers to work in different parameters involving the spring, the bump stop, and holding the car just at the right platform. So it's a constant evolution. And the more information that we can give the teams to work with, the better and faster they go, you know. The competition is just, there's so many, like Aaron said, even in the dirt world, I refer back to that because it's unbelievable how many cars you could show up at a big event. Just for example, 2 weeks ago at Volusia for the modified week, there was 109 modifieds competing for 20 start spots every night, right? I mean, you have to come with a thick notebook ready to go, or you're just not even going to make the feature. So it's even more important these days.
Yeah, I think touching base a little bit on that aero platform, Jim earlier mentioned the porpoising, and that was a big topic there in Formula One. And Formula One kind of hit the teams with everything at once. They went to a new car, they went to a bigger wheel, different tire. They put a band on inerters. They did this whole thing at once, and you got to see this porpoising effect where now the dampers in previous years were used kind of differently than what they are on the new car, because we could run inerters, which would help that porpoising effect and sort of eliminate that. They would control the aero balance of the car very, very precisely. Once they banned that, it was an all new acceleration of, okay, how do we learn what these cars need now? As Jim said, the cars got bigger, they got heavier. So all that got thrown in at once, but it's no different than any other form of racing, whether it be modifieds, late models, NASCAR, whatever it is. Aero has become so important. And that's where I think after, I would say, it really started getting big with the bump stops and springs and things like that. But that's where these pull down rigs and other machines like that hopefully we have or manufacturers have, you have to be 50 thou, 100 thou travel is a huge difference in load, which could be the difference between the car handling good and not handling good. It affects tire wear. There's so many variables that are all connected to each other. So that's where we think this platform is really important for everybody.
Well, I know we spent a lot of time here so far, Aaron, talking about four wheels. I'm sure right now I'd like to hear what Dustin's got to say about two wheels. We're not trying to ignore you. We just want to get to you.
It's okay. We'll get there.
Yeah. So Dustin heads up our motorcycle market, and we do everything from two-wheel road race, style. We do the flat track bikes, obviously. And the one market that's been taken off like crazy lately is the motorcycle drag market. And this can be anything from suspended bikes or non-suspended bikes, but mostly these suspended bikes that you get your Hayabusas, your ZX12s, ZX14s. We have a lot of new technology coming into these applications that are working extremely well. And these there's a lot of racers out there making a living tuning bikes, building these bikes with turbos and nitrous and you name it, but they got to put the power to the ground. And it's pretty impressive. So Dustin knows more about that and what we've accomplished there, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thanks for having me, everybody. So yeah, as Aaron had said, the drag bike market has exploded with fast bikes, products, engineering, et cetera, just like all the other markets that we deal with. And the biggest hurdle with that is you don't have four wheels. You basically have one wheel, one tire with a contact patch of roughly, 3 inches, 4 inches. And you got guys, you know, anywhere from 300 horsepower all the way up to 800 in some of the grudge bike stuff that we deal with. And trying to tame that beast and get that power to the track and keep that thing in motion is a pretty big hurdle, you know. We have guys that run a pretty much a stock bike, stock motor, stock chassis, running our products all the way up again to the 80-inch wheelbase bikes with 800 horsepower. You know, currently we have a bike that's running, you know, 595 in the quarter mile, and that's on a DOT radial tire at set at 80 inches, running 800 horsepower. So, you know, with that, we have, you know, our coil spring shocks that we do. It's our 8975 platform, which is a double adjust coil spring shock, and then all the way up to our air shock. Our air shock is, to say the least, a very well working shock once you get it dialed in. It replaces the coil spring with an air chamber, and you can adjust the air chamber pressures to create a very progressive curve on that. We use that air shock across our platform in many other forms of racing. And it's like Jim said, you know, our products are a trickle down effect. They start on the high ends and work their way down. Not saying motorcycle racing is a low end by any means. But with that, you know, the air shock is extremely tunable. It comes in single, double, and triple adjust. And with that, we got numbers that you don't see on a motorcycle nowhere. You know, again, 595 in the quarter is nothing to sneeze at. And being able to change that spring pressure allows you to race on different surfaces during different times of the day with different track temperatures, ambient temperature. As the sun sets, the track changes and things like that. That affects the way the bike's going to handle. So in years past, you know, you're turning dials, you're taking springs off, you're changing springs, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can change it just by adding more or less nitrogen to that chamber, and it makes it more tunable. You know, a coil spring that's linear, it does what it does. You know, with the air spring side of it, you can add 10 pounds, and that 10 pounds might be just enough to make the change. And if you have, in the drag bike world, you have two different jockeys riding that same bike. You have one guy that's 120 pounds. The next guy is 200 pounds. That's where the air shock shines. Because now you don't have to disassemble the bike. You don't have to worry about motion ratios. You don't have to worry about unbolting and changing things. Is something binding? Do you have to raise and lower the link on it? And you don't have to make all those adjustments. Now you can throw two different guys at it. They can ride the bike. You can also change how much nitrous you're bringing in. You can also change your boost when it comes in. And you can also change that air pressure on the fly with the ECMs on these bikes. If you have the shock hooked up to the CO2 tank, you can change that. You can change the pressure. You can use it as, you know, like you have ABS and you have lasers on the front of these bikes. As the bike starts to wheelie, it starts changing timing and taking power out. You can do the same with pod sensors on the side of the shock. You can increase and decrease the pressure in the shock on the fly. And there's some guys out there that have nailed it. And they got that thing that dialed in. It's a struggle getting there just because of, you know, learning curves for everybody, because it's a new technology within the last, you know, 6 years in the drag bike market. So that being said, you know, with our S3 program, we're there. You know, I traveled to a lot of the XDA races. I'm there helping the guys on the line, trying to help them get the chassis set up on the bike, helping them with air pressures, taking videos, you know, seeing what we can do to improve on that. The hydraulic portion of the shock still functions like our other platforms. You make your adjustments, low speed, high speed compression, your rebound adjustments to slow the back end down. And when you got an 80-inch wheelbase and your chain is that much longer than a stock wheelbase on these Hayabusas at 58 inches, you know, you have that chain and that swing arm trying to rip that bike off the track. So you have to control that. And that's where the shock part of it comes into play. We've made huge strides with that air shock. It's a fabulous, fabulous shock, and it does its job very well.
Well, I've watched a little bit of drag racing and some highlights already this year. And all I know is better than me, because that something going to look like it's a handful and it's wicked when it gets launched. Yeah, it better be hooked up. Otherwise, it's going into outer space. I promise you.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, when you're hitting speeds, 230 mile an hour on two wheels, and you're going through the traps at 230, 235 mile an hour with that front end off the ground, I that's not for me, but these guys, with these grudge bikes and what they're doing, the speeds they're hitting, we have to tame that beast. And that's our job at Penske Shocks, from engineering all the way down, is to try to help these guys and figure out how to get that done.
Yeah. Like I say, keep up the good work. Aaron, right now, you want to answer a few questions from some of the folks that are participating today? I don't want to forget them. I know we've got a lot of good information coming out, but I realize this is just kind of like exposing what Penske's all about in 2023, and we're here and what you can do. So, we've already got a question here from William wanting to know about Formula E and electric race car setups. I mean, are you guys working in a direction there? And I'm sure that until we get more of them, I'm sure that's a little bit, uncharted territory.
Yeah, it is. When that market first came about, Jim and I were actually at one of the first tests with the Formula E, over in the UK where they started, and we had quite a few teams that we were supplying at the time. It's definitely a different type of racing, and it every year it seems to evolve depending on their power plant and how efficient they get. I know now I think they're running just one car now, where previous years they had two cars for one race, depending on the power that they were allowed to use. So every year it's changing, but I think as John mentioned, or we mentioned earlier, it's like any other form of racing. Obviously they usually got more torque, like everybody talks about with the electric, with the power that they get there, they got more torque. So you're definitely having different setups to adjust. But yeah, they're exciting. And every year they're changing. So it's like any other, I'd say it's like any other form of motorsports, just got a different motor in there. So.
Yeah. I'll comment on that quick, Aaron. Yeah. Because most of those races are on street courses. The one big, and those cars are heavy with the batteries. So,
right.
We had to always set up for those curbs, and the fastest way around those tracks was slamming those curbs. So, and the tires more of a radial tire. So that was very interesting how to set that up with very little aero and slamming those curves with a heavy car. So we did a lot of work, as Aaron mentioned, with the setup and having blow off type valves versus standard damping just to handle those situations.
I'm going to ask a very uneducated question. Having messed with some stock shocks and how they have the ability to take the internal oil or grease, whatever you want to call it, and charge it and change the viscosity of it. Is that something that's in the future for racing?
We get asked that a lot. I would say this was going back quite a few years now. The MR fluid was popular, and when the rules were a little bit more laxed, you would have fully active dampers. We actually built a system that we ran on one of the first Daytona prototypes for testing that allowed the driver to go, and we had a 6-position switch on the steering wheel, and we could load up 6 completely different damping curves for each corner into the ECU, and he could just go around the track and switch between and see which one he liked the best. It was extremely beneficial to understand what the driver was feeling compared to what we were doing with the damper and the suspension. So for testing purposes, I think there's definitely a place for it. I think most sanctioning bodies, the number one rule you see in the rule book is no electronic adjusters, no driver adjustability, things like that. So it makes it a little difficult. But obviously in the world of OE with trucks and these high-end sports cars, a lot of those are either MR fluid or they just have little electronic motors that help the shocks adjust on the fly based off the inputs that they're getting through sensors on the chassis and things like that. But yeah, in racing, I think, at least from what we've seen, most of the sanctioning bodies sort of shy away from it.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, Tom wants to know, and I know this is one of those kind of questions, just bear with me. Is there a contact to obtain physical dimensions of Penske shocks? And if so, where and who for a specific dampener application. And here again, Tom, you'd have to tell us exactly what kind of racing you're doing, because again, if you're talking about motorcycles, well, we want to put you in touch with Dustin. But if you're looking for dirt cars and things, we want to get you to over here to John. But if not, then Jim may be your guy up at Formula One. So we just need a little bit more about that. Am I speaking out of turn, guys?
Nope, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You let us know more specifics. We have somebody here under our roof that'll be able to help you out with any application. I mean, we don't just do racing. We have aerospace applications. We do all kinds. Anything that needs a shock absorber, we can do the work on it. So,
well, he's in there listening right now. I've already got a response. That would be road racing, he said. So
perfect. Yeah. So if we reach out, if he reaches out to us at S3 Penske Shocks or gives us a call, we'll definitely get him connected to our road race department and help him out with whatever he needs.
And Levi was wondering how does a test rig? I mean, how much does a test rig session cost?
John, you have that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the test rig with relation to a dirt car comes in at $180 an hour, and we did it on an hourly basis so the racer could kind of tailor his schedule and his pocketbook to what he's doing. Right? We don't charge for setup. We charge when the car starts moving, the clock starts running. Some of the setup time can be a little lengthy on the dirt cars. There's a lot of fixtures that have to go on to work with the Mittler Brothers rig and whatnot. And every dirt car is a little bit different. Manufacturers are constantly making little adjustments to their chassis and where they put bars and whatnot. So that's a little bit of a moving target. We do not charge for setup time. That's on us. 180 for a dirt car, 140 for an asphalt, like a Craftsman Series truck, an Xfinity Series car. We still get plenty of those guys running through here. And actually, we're going to have an asphalt modified on here next week, and that'll be right in the 180 range. All the same fixtures go on, and there's no limit. You can run as long or as short as you care to.
That sounds good and very interesting. So really, if they call you and they want to try to learn something, you can tell them pretty quick, we can help you with this, or we suggest do something else. So that's the good thing about folks like yourselves. If you guys don't do it, you may know somebody who does specify maybe something in a application that maybe you guys don't. So that's always very helpful, because always having somebody to help give me an answer or give me a direction where to go search more. Because I think this is the one thing I love about EPARTRADE and I love about these webinars is we're educating everybody around the world. Sometimes, hey, there's a group over there that's doing something that I'd like to know more about. And when you get there, you realize, well, maybe they don't, but you'll know who maybe does. So I think I love the networking aspect of what this platform and EPARTRADE offers around the globe. So that excites me again.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. I think when they come down, like for our pull down rig specifically, we have an engineer that works on site that is that worked with NASCAR team full time doing this. So they're coming to our rig and they're getting John's input. They're getting our other guy Dennis there, and then we have Jeff, who's our engineer there, that he's done this for the top cup teams in the industry. So they're going to pull down. You see a lot of squiggly lines and a lot of numbers on the board, and a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to use that, but that's what we're there for. We show them the trends, we show them what it means, so they start to understand it. And pretty quickly you can start to put two and two together and understand, okay, I see what's going on here. Which is really big. As you said, it's you don't have to be the expert in it. That's what we're here for. We're here to show you and help you along the way to do that. And that turns over a popular question is, well, do I need track data to go to a pull down rig? While there's an advantage there to having track data, John can attest to it. Some of the first time customers that we see there, just physically pulling the car down and seeing the chassis go through its movement, we find bushings that are binding. We find simple things that you would never find unless you put it on the pull down rig. So I always tell the customers, for your first time, don't even worry about track data. Just bring your car and let us pull it down, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to see something that you're going to say it shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. And you just find low hanging fruit that way.
This Jeff guy, he wouldn't be JA@PenskeshOcks.com, would he?
No, that is Jim. That's Jim. So no, that's not him.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
All right. Well, that's cool. I
Jim-
mean, and that's good right there. Cause again, I think it's more important right now that we connect the face with that deal. Cause when it popped up there, that's what I'm trying to say. You guys are on your game. You're there to help. And I think that's the one thing that has always, ever since Penske came into cup racing, that's one thing you guys have always been, I think ahead of the curve on everybody else, is that you came with a plan, and we've been working on that plan and trying to redefine and find what changes each and every year, whether it's the aero platform, if it's a NASCAR rule change, if it's one in the truck series, you address it, and everybody gets better and gets better educated because of it. And from what I'm seeing here, from Formula One to two wheels, dirt racing, it doesn't matter. Dirt modified, asphalt modified. You guys are looking for more answers and to all the questions that we all have. So engineering is not something that's available to everybody. And a lot of people don't understand the benefits of good engineering. I do understand the benefits of bad engineering, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, that's something we see. I think our philosophy for sure is, at least I tell our racers, is they all work too hard and they spend too much time, both personal time or paid time, to get to a racetrack. And when you get there and you're not ready, and you don't have the answers, it makes it that much harder. And at least for our racers, I tell them, your time's too valuable. Let us help you get there. So you're 9/10 of the way there. If you're 9/10 of the way there and your competitor's showing up 7/10 of the way there, it's hard to get those 2/10 at the racetrack. And that's really what it is. Like you said, it's just about being prepared and looking at all aspects of the car. It's not just one. I tell a lot of customers, a lot of them think there's magic in the shocks, and I wish there was. I tell everybody, if our shocks could make it that big of a difference, we'd be charging more money for them. It's all part of a bigger puzzle, and that's really what it is. And the pull down rig does really show, it really shows all aspects of the car working together and how one area affects the other area, which affects the other area. It's not just one thing. It's not just the shocks. It's not just the springs. It's everything combined for sure.
Well, Aaron, like I say, I appreciate the time you spent here today with us and for sharing where Penske Racing is today, Penske Racing Shocks. And I think that you've been here for such a long period of time, and it looks to me like you are going to be around a lot longer with all the folks you're helping and all the improvements that are being made within the product of a shock. So again, I've enjoyed being a part of this today, and I'm being honest. I'm coming by, John. Coming by. I got to see this thing. I love it when you can put something under load and you're able to take a look and say, wow, I didn't realize it would do that.
100% true. And the interesting part is, with a dirt car, everything's going the opposite direction of what you and I used to race, right? That thing's going up. All our stuff is going down. So it's pretty cool to look at. I'll get you a shop address. We'll set up a time when we got to get a customer in the rig. Come on down. Check it out.
All right. Francis, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Of course, thank you, gentlemen. What a great presentation, and what an iconic company. What I love about Penske so much is they cover everything from F1 to grassroots to motorcycle and everything in between. They are absolutely everywhere. And I even traveled the world with Jim years and years ago, and they are like that. You find their spring, their suspension and absolutely everywhere, from Latin America to Europe to the States, Australia, and everywhere. And so that's really a great company, and a credit to these guys. They are geniuses in what they do. So thank you very much for being with us today. And we have recorded this webinar. It will be posted on the EPARTRADE platform later today and distributed through our different channels. And we will be back next Wednesday, and we're going to be talking engine management system and electronic fuel injection with Fuel Tech. Thank you very much, and let's go racing.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Francis.
For having us.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
My name is Chadron Sisson. I'm one of the owners of Electrified Garage. So the Shop Monkey software is great since we have the multiple locations. We can dive into each other's location and help out with appointment taking, inventory, customer communication. I can jump into Florida and help out and make an appointment down there, and vice versa. They can make appointments down there for us up here. And then by using our inventory, they can see if we have the parts, and they can get the parts ordered before the customer even comes up here.